We're recording. Okay.
Okay, we have a couple of stragglers, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm tired of hearing about the templates, ladies, so I figured I'd knock the training out. Everybody knows how to log into Zipforms, correct? car.org, access your Zipforms. Hopefully everybody knows how to use Zipforms because it is integrated with SkySlope, but we still have to get our forms in Zipforms. You guys have login. So some of the forms that we use and the info that is in the forms is redundant, which is why it's a time saver to have your template set up. And it even says at the top there, templates are time-saving tools that you can use to create transactions quickly with commonly used forms and information. You can see I have a lot of templates set up. So when I want to create a new transaction, all I have to do is import those templates. And I'll show you some of the information that is in there and how we create new templates. So for this first one, I'm just going to jump right into my residential purchase template. And if you don't know what forms you need in your templates, a good resource is to ask Angie because she'll call you out if you're missing any forms. The nice thing about Zipforms is it also has a forms advisor. If you go right onto the home page there, you can click Forms Advisor, and it'll run you through a series of questions. So let's say you have a purchase and you're representing the buyer. It'll ask you the questions. Who do you represent? Is the agent a member of the MLS? So you go through, answer those questions. It'll take you throughout the tabs and you answer those questions. When you get to the end, it will actually tell you which forms you need to get.
So is that per transaction? You want to do a forms advisor every transaction?
No. Once you have your template set up, you wouldn't have to use this again.
Okay.
But if you're not sure if you're doing a different kind of deal and you're not sure if you're missing any forms, or once you're initially setting up your templates and you're not sure which forms you want to put in there, it's a good resource to use. If you have a trust and you've never done a trust before, you're not sure and you're capturing all the forms, just go through the forms advisor, answer the questions. And some of the forms you may or may not need, it'll give you like a whole list, but I believe in overkill, so it's like I'll have all my forms ready to go. So in my residential purchase template, the holy grail of all your templates is your cover sheet. And it's always at the top. This is your forms library on the right here. You'll see number one is always your cover sheet. So I have that in every template folder. And you'll see, because it's a purchase agreement, I know I'm representing the buyer. So I have a couple of fillers in there just to remind me I have to have their name and their email at least to get it going as far as electronic signatures to send out the forms. And I check the buyer box. If you only have one buyer, then just fill out the one and only have the one box checked. And these check boxes will pull into your forms along with the information that you put on your cover sheet. And it updates real time, so any changes that you make in your cover sheet will transfer to all of the other forms that you have in your transaction. So you'll see I have the Bob buyer, Betty buyer. Go down, the MLS information. This just reminds me to put in the property information, but I don't manually put it in. What I do is I do MLS Connect, which I'll show you how to do as well. Fill in the expiration date, usually I put within 45 days. I'll have the residential property checked. And then as far as the escrow information, I always put seller's choice. This information here, your broker information, this saves you time so you don't have to fill it out with every form and every transaction. You can actually pull in your templates, have this ready to go, and it'll populate all of your forms. So I don't have to create a new transaction and type this every time I have a new one. So title information, I do the same thing, seller's choice, disclosure information, and this just kind of reminds me to fill in those blanks when I go through my forms. When you're done, when you have an offer, it's a good idea to go back and completely fill in your cover sheet. And you can use this to send over to escrow for their escrow instructions because it'll have all the buyer's information, it'll have all the property information, I mean, everything that the escrow officer needs will be in here. You can put in your lender, who's doing your pest. You can go back and fill out this whole sheet and use it as your transaction input sheet.
So you just hit email then, just hit the email and it'll send that sheet to customer.
Yeah, you can send it to whoever you want. You can save it as a PDF. You can just email it straight from Zipforms. So the other thing I have in my residential purchase agreement template is, of course, the residential purchase agreement. I'm going to make this full screen so everybody can see it a little easier. So the first thing that pulls up is your AD. And you'll see, because I have that in my cover sheet, it automatically checks the buyers, puts their names in, and then puts my information. So I don't have to do that. And I'm not going to go through filling out the forms. This is just mostly about the templates, but I'll show you the sections that I have filled out in my template. So again, the buyers' names are automatically put in there along with my information. We have the wire fraud advisory that gets pulled in automatically now. The beauty of Zipforms, anytime you are in a transaction folder, it will automatically pull the latest forms. So you don't have to go out and get them. So date prepared, that's something that I fill out when I have an offer. You'll see the information that's here is pulled directly from the cover sheet, even though within 45 days after acceptance. And this is my template. So, you know, I have the seller box checked here. I'd have to fill out whoever the selling agent is when I get that offer. My information is already pulled in, and because it's a purchase agreement, I have the buyer box checked. For initial deposit, I always leave this box checked, always put buyer's choice.
So you're in the template right now,
This is
where
my template.
anything that you put on this contract will be the way that it is. It'll
It'll be transferred over.
Okay.
And we'll do a new transaction, and I'll pull in the template so you can see how you can adjust your forms if you need to.
As you're adding these documents to the template thing, you're filling them out, pre-filling them out one time, and then they're good.
And they'll carry over every time I pull in a template. You know, we've talked about capping the loan rate, so I always put a little reminder in there for myself. You can also, if you want to direct your buyer's attention to something, you can use the highlight button here. And I do that just to make sure that we don't miss any of the buyer's initials boxes. Even though they're checked from the cover sheet, there are a couple places that the buyers, or I should say the agents, tend to miss. The property address gets pulled in, and we'll do the MLS Connect. For the contingency periods, I always have them matched 21 days, so that I put those in my template. I don't have to change those when I create a new transaction. Loan contingency is 21. I make the appraisal 21. I make the buyer's inspection period 21 days. I've never had an agent balk about that.
Yeah.
And most of the time they don't even catch it. You know, sometimes I'll get a call about the 17 days and it's like, go back and look, we actually have 21. The buyer's inspection advisory is automatically checked. What you do have to check, which I always send over, is the SBSA. So since it's checked in my template, I never have to do it again. I pull in my template, it's already checked. Some of the...
So real quick, so all those other documents, like where it says probate or trust,
you would check those boxes
on the
in your
other
new
template.
transaction.
So if you had a trust
Since I don't use that every time, it's like I keep it generic. And then when I create the transaction, these generic fields will get pulled in, and then I just change those in my transaction. And you can actually set up templates for, I mean, basically anything. You can have as many templates set up for as many scenarios as you want. You can pull in 5 different templates into a transaction. It makes it very easy. I have all my forms pretty much ready to go. So here I always put seller's choice. We always want to make it appealing to the seller, feel like they're getting a good deal and have their choice for everything that they have to pay for.
Can we check that environmental box and make that a
Yeah, usually, that's a good catch too, but I usually have that checked. So government retrofits, seller pays for everything, escrow and title, you'll see the buyer and seller boxes are both checked because they're both paying 50-50 for local custom. Escrow holder, seller's choice, and you can change these in any transaction. Like I said, this is just the generic fields that I have in my template. check the county transfer tax, don't usually pay city transfer tax, but I have it checked. If it doesn't apply, it doesn't matter. Home warranty, you know, I put $500 in there, upgraded. Actually, I don't want it upgraded. I like the standard home warranty, and then you can have the conversation with your buyers about whether they want the other stuff. The stoves, refrigerators, washers, dryers should be checked. And usually what I put down here for excluded from sale, seller to provide list if any. If the seller doesn't want anything to go with the house, tell me what it is.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Can we go back up to where the environmental was? What are your thoughts of, if this is a template, should we try for a clue report? And if we get it, great. And if not, then we don't.
I think that's up to you. I never asked for a clue report. Okay. So if it's something that you want to put in your template, you can just write it right in.
Okay. And just so a clue report is like a Carfax report. It gives you all the insurance on the property. If anybody's ever filed an insurance claim against it. So we haven't ran into an issue yet, but I've heard of brokerages running into issues that didn't get that information, and buyers were concerned.
And we've talked about that here where, you know, it's something cheap, right? Like $29 or something.
$29.
So,
yeah.
I mean.
It's one of these things like if you're going to ask for the NHD, ask for the environment. You know,
or just buy it for your buyer.
Or buy it for your buyer. Well, actually, the seller
can only be ordered by the seller.
The seller is the only one. So if you forget to ask for it, you're pretty much, if the seller doesn't want to provide it, they don't have to. Me and James just went through that issue.
Hey guys, just my personal decision, what I see, nobody really asked for it here on Essential Trust. That doesn't mean that it needs to be your standard of care for your customer. Why wouldn't you? It's $29. You never know what can show up. There have been cases where it really protected the buyer.
But you know, it's like you can ask the seller for it, but buy it for your buyer if the seller doesn't want to pay for it.
But the seller won't provide it. If you don't get the seller's permission, there's no one else.
But if you're willing to pick up the cost, doesn't I mean, it's like.
We had an issue right now. The seller refused to do it. He said, I don't want to go through the time. I don't want to put my social in.
You know, like in the medical field, they have like a HIPAA violation where they cannot disclose medical information from the patient. It's basically the same thing. The insurance company will not divulge that information to anybody else without written consent and quite a detailed process that the only person that can do that is the seller.
Anyway, it's an online process, very, very easy to order. Ultimately, if there's something on there and the buyer goes to try to apply for insurance, his insurance is going to go up because there was some sort of claim against the property back in the day, and now that's where the problem ends up, and it always happens after the fact. Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Something the seller should dispose of.
Yes.
Okay. So, we don't have the wood destroying pest report automatically in the contract anymore. If you wanted to, you could check the box here and just fill it in. I do that per transaction. It's like I don't make that an automatic thing that I have in my template, but you could. So closing possession, I always put noon. I mean, but whatever time you guys want, but that's pretty much my standard for my template. Those are all pretty much standard for those fields. I don't have anything changed there. You'll notice I do have the initial boxes colored differently for liquidated damages and arbitration because those are not required. Those are the buyer's choice. Everything here, they have to initial every page of the contract. Those are not mandatory. But you do want to have that discussion with them. I just colored it a different color to remind myself. It's like, you know, fill that in. You'll see I have my name here. And all of my info gets pulled from the cover sheet, so I don't have to sit there and type it back in. This is one of the initial boxes that always gets missed. So I have it highlighted to make sure that the buyers see that in initial because there's no other place for them to sign here. It just says that they recognize that this page is part of the contract. Buyer's inspection advisory, let's see that. So I'm just going to go back to the cover sheet and we'll do the MLS Connect. my template once I put it in. That's weird.
Wonder if you have to have a seller's name in there?
Shouldn't have to.
Are you doing a template?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Thank you, Gary. We'll do a
Nice
transaction bullet. So my SBSA is in there.
Right now. Oh, we'll do it in the template.
I know, that's right. So SBSA, 12 pages, lots of good stuff.
So because on your purchase agreement, you check the box.
I check the box, it gets
That's
pulled in.
why it brings it over.
I don't know why you wouldn't include it.
Because it's 12 pages.
It's 12 pages. So you'll see at the end, I put in our Hubbell Real Estate Group advisories that usually Angie's going to call you on to have included, as well as the market conditions advisory. And I have those in my template too. I have a different template folder for the disclosures, which I'll show you. But if you check a box and you put something in here, you better have it attached.
So that means it better be added to your template. That's huge right there. Those disclosures are what protects us big time for locally around here.
So you'll notice I put my avid in here. I'm not going to send it at the time of the offer, but that reminds me that I'm going to need to get it done. So I have it in my template folder, which is pulled into my transaction folder. Basically says don't forget to do it. I do the same thing with the contingency removal and request for repairs. I may or may not use it, but I have it there in my transaction folder when I pull it in. Verification of property. This is David's favorite form. Buyer representation agreement. Please make sure you use the exclusive one, but I have that in there ready to go as well. And that'll automatically get pulled in with all of my transactions that I pulled the templates in for. So WCMD, which hopefully everybody knows, replaced the CMD, although that form is still available. So if you pull it, you'll have two, but this is really the one that you should be using.
So what are the three main, so it looks like there's three main forms that they should do when they write the offer.
Yeah, well, you definitely got to have your cover sheet, your purchase agreement, your SBSA, you know, your buyer representative agreement if you're going to use it. You can add as many forms or as few forms as you want.
Okay.
You know, I pretty much like to get everything in there so I don't have to think about it, set it at one time, forget it, go do a transaction, pull everything in. I don't have to go hunt for forms. So this is my disclosures folder. You know, some of the things that we have in there, the Slow County water conservation, right to farm. And these are, you'll notice, are PDFs. I don't get these from the CalBRE library. And if you're looking for forms, if you do your drop-down box, you'll see the different libraries that are available for different forms. So what I do is I pull those in, and you can go to the Pismo Coast Association website and get these forms. And it's been a while, but I think, Gary, where's the other place? Is it the DRE forms? If we were pulling the right to farm disclosures, those PDFs?
They won't be there. CAR didn't put them up.
So they're not anywhere in here? You have to go off-site to get them?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
How do you pull in your local form, these real estate forms?
What I do is when you're pulling in a PDF, you have to pull it from your computer or some location. So I save it to my computer, and then I just pull it in, and we'll walk through that.
Right there at the top where it says add a
Add
document. Add document.
We'll go back.
Yeah, we'll go back. So you can see I have templates pretty much for everything. I have my manufactured home template, which has all the forms that I need in there.
So it would be good homework to once a week do a template. Make that a goal, make it a priority. Every week you try to get a template, and eventually your templates will look just like Linda's. And it takes time.
There's a way to do it, like Noah just wrote an offer. He wrote an offer for a guy with an exchange or something like that. Save it as a template.
So as you're
template
writing
and
offers.
just empty the cover sheet except for your information,
Yeah.
now you have a template. So that when you write a vacant land contract, for some reason, I thought you should save it as, that's what it was.
Vacant land.
So you write a vacant land contract, and then right up on the menu on top, it'll say save as template, you just save it as a template, go back, do your
Yeah.
business, then when you go back later, you go in and erase your buyer's junk
I
out
was
of
gonna
that.
say, the only thing I'm cautioned about that is it doesn't erase everything on every form, so you'd have to go
You
back.
gotta go to the cover
every-
sheet and wipe it
I know,
out.
but it doesn't automatically erase everything that's.
So as we're doing transactions and you're working with like myself or Angie, we're doing your first transaction together, that's gonna be your template.
Yeah.
You know, and
Just go
take
back
the
and clean
initiative
it
to
up.
try
You're
to
gonna
do
have
your
that
own
as your
template as
template.
well.
Go back through every form and make sure that everything that needs to get wiped is wiped.
Can you show me how to hit the save button to make it a template? So as I'm working
Yeah, I'm
with
gonna
people-
show you how to create a template.
She's gonna show me how to do
I'll
this.
show you all that stuff.
I should be honest. No
Okay,
secrets.
So to create a template, you'll notice I'm in my templates folder, my templates tab. So I'm gonna hit new, and then I'm gonna name my template. So just this, my test template. God, it's hard to get right here though. Look at this and type sideways. So say I wanna do purchase. I want to do it residential. And then over here, you'll notice it says agent. That's me as a single agent creating a template. You can also create global templates that your office can use.
Like Angie can do a template
Angie could do it.
and it can be assigned to everybody?
I think everybody would have access to it.
Oh.
So test template, and I'm just going to hit save.
Make a note of that.
So you notice I just created a new template. It's blank. There's nothing in here. So this is where I go to the forms on the right side, and I start adding the forms that I want to be part of this template. And all you do is click on it, drops them right in. And like we had said, if you click a box, let's go down. Sorry if I'm making people on here dizzy. Oops. So when I click the SBSA, it tells me that it's added my form. See, added successfully. So I say, okay, go back and look, and there it is. So you can add as many forms as you want into your templates. I'll show you how to do the add the PDFs as well. So we have our templates. Now we want to use them for transactions. So I'm going to go to the Transactions tab. I'm going to create a new transaction. I always name them by the street address. So put the address in there. What kind of transaction is it? And buyers that are purchasing that home. So the template, when I do apply template, I go to the drop-down box and I look for that template. What I need is the residential purchase template. So I'm going to click that, hit save. I'll go back so you can see it out here. So there's my new transaction that I've created, and I've pulled in all of the templates from the residential purchase template. Now I have other templates in there, so say I want to add the Hubbell forms. I don't want to have to pull those in again, so I just apply my template. Like I said, you can apply more than one template for a transaction, so you'll see my disclosure forms drop right in there.
Okay, how'd you do Hubbell forms and put all the forms?
Now I'll show you how to do that.
Okay.
So, what else? Let's say my guy is doing a 1031 exchange. Apply that template, and that gets dropped in there. So all of my forms are in here now, and you can't, I mean, you still have to go in and do some work, right? The template gives me the basic information that I've set up in my templates. Now you go in and you start filling in the rest of the data. So you're going to do, we'll do the MLS Connect first. Let me go back. So I'm in my cover sheet, and now it works. I have a transaction, and I want to pull in all of the property information, but I don't want to have to type it. I go to Zipform MLS Connect. Matrix will show up here. In your drop-down box, it should be automatically selected. And then knowing I just ran across this, always forget, you have to change the listing type. If you're looking for land and you put it when it's selected for residential, you will not get it pulled up. So I'm looking for house. And you have to have the MLS number in order for this to work. So you put in your MLS listing ID, always click include property photo, and then you're going to click find. And now it's going to go out and look for it. When it's done, it's going to populate the photo right there. This happens to be my listing, which is still available if anybody has a client.
Love the plug.
So then I'm going to hit import. Yes, I want to replace all the data that's in there because I don't want it to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 any place. You'll see it automatically pulls in the property information, which is very nice. So when I go to my other forms, because it's going to pull from the cover sheet, I'm going to have all of that property information in my other forms.
I caution everyone, only use active listings. If you're going to use a canceled listing or an old listing, it's going to pull bad data over. So if you're writing an offer, you're writing it on an active property anyway.
Yeah.
So make sure you have the right MLS number.
Yeah, what you can do is take some of the data that's from it, the parcel's number, assessor's parcel number isn't going to change. So you can pull some of the data and then correct all the other stuff. Yeah. So you go through your offer, and of course you're going to do the date prepared. Oops. Let's see, 30. I know, right? Look at me. And this is just something that I've always done. Take that back to my cover sheet. I always fill out everything in caps. Gary's always made a good point about when you're faxing stuff or scanning stuff. Sometimes, the letters or the numbers can get kind of hard to read. So all I have to do is once that information is populated, just click on it. You'll see this little pencil here. If I click on it, I can click the caps button and it changes everything to caps.
Plus escrow will love you.
Escrow will love you, that is correct.
It's just better.
It's better.
So you get old when you buy it.
When I make my changes, there's a save button up here. So now when I go back in to my purchase agreement, there's my property address. It'll get filled in on all the forms. There's that buyer, ready buyer. Okay, so I did my date prepared, and now you still have to go through and make any changes that don't apply from your generic template. Maybe you're going to close in 30 days, 15 days. Those are just reminders to get these filled out, do your initial deposit. This, you go back through and fill out everything else. The only thing that you save time from doing and having to retype all the time is all the stuff that's in your templates. Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
So here's all my stuff. And for, this is something that Matrix does, which kind of bugs me. It automatically puts the click here to select your service provider because they have the drop down for the different companies that they're partnered with to choose from. You can click on one of those and use it, or you can just highlight that and hit your space bar to get rid of it.
Yeah, don't leave it blank. Don't leave it in there. It makes it look like you didn't. Right?
Yeah, I did that once. It was like from my template. It's like, oh man.
If you try to just like delete it,
That's what
out,
happened.
it'll come right back.
I
You have to
deleted
hit
it
the
from my
space bar.
template. I thought it was good, and then got the offer back, and
Yeah,
it still
CR's
said
gonna
click
hear
here.
about that in October. That is just.
But
It's not helping.
don't put a blank. Put seller's choice. Put something in there, but don't leave the click here to select the service provider. And you'll notice when you start going through and populating your templates and your forms, you'll start building up your drop-down boxes. So, let's see if I can like here, I've used seller's choice like all the time, but if I've used Fidelity before, it'll show up in my drop-down box. If I've used First American Title, it'll show up in my drop-down box. So then I don't have to keep retyping it. I can just select it. So there's all my property info. Yeah, you'll notice too that when I pull in my templates from the transaction, I lose my highlights.
So you have to go through and re-highlight.
You can go through and re-highlight it again, but hopefully you just remember from your template that you gotta make sure that those are filled in. Anywhere that your buyer doesn't have a signature line should have a little X by the initials where they need the initial. These green check boxes are from your cover sheet.
Are you in a transaction now?
Yeah.
So Bob wanted to know, I left for a minute, but Bob wanted to know if you were gonna save that transaction as a template, where's that button?
So if you go back to your transactions tab, the drop down on the right here, if you click on it, there's a copy button. So, and then you can like retitle this, and when you hit copy, let's take that, place number 2. It'll make an exact copy, and then you can just go through and clean it up if you wanted to.
Oh, and then right there, that drop down menu,
Uh-huh.
right there, and then it says
Oh,
save
save
as
as template.
template. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we work together, I will start doing this.
And you can also, if you have,
That's good.
if you have, like say I have the same buyers that made an offer on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, any place, I could copy that transaction and then just make that for a whole new offer.
Like change your cover
Like
sheet.
change, like say they made an offer on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, any place, and then they wanted to make an offer on, that deal fell up, wanted to make an offer on another one, instead of like having to repopulate all the forms, I could just copy this transaction and then change the property address for the new offer.
And you can do that with the MLS Connect, actually. You could open up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, any place, go to MLS Connect, tell it overwrite my data, it'll give you the new listing agent, the new property address, and it'll clean about half of it.
Just you could do that in your cover sheet for your new transaction.
Yeah, I just happen to think.
And then if I don't want this anymore, I can actually delete it.
Be careful with the delete.
Be careful with the delete button, yeah. So you also notice it's like, I have my dead files in here, I have dead offers. It's like you really should have your documents in 2 locations. I know we use SkySlope for everything. We pull the forms from Zipforms, and you can have it integrated so that it automatically pulls into SkySlope, but I keep documents in both locations. So I always start in Zipforms and then just transfer them over to SkySlope.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, when your transaction's in escrow, you're going to be in SkySlope and in Zipforms. When you're just by yourself working, trying to get offers, it's in Zipforms. The moment you have an executed document, it pulls over. SkySlope and Zipforms integrate, where you can literally be in Zipform or SkySlope and hit pull, and it just pulls the document out. You don't have to re-upload or redo anything like that. Cool, Linda.
Okay.
How do you pull the documents, the Hubbell documents?
Okay, so what I'm going to do is add a document, and it'll say browse for a file. And wherever you have that file located, say when to pull this one in. There it is. Okay. There it is.
Now, how do you make it to where you call it a group? Like I want all the Hubbell documents.
You can do that in your templates.
Okay, so you label that.
Like in my templates folder, I have the
Hubbell forms.
Hubbell forms.
Okay.
So I can pull those in, and then you can actually, because a couple of these are just for the buyers, but I can pull in all the Hubbell forms into my transaction folder and then just get rid of the ones that I don't need.
Okay.
So it's the same thing, hit the drop down and then just remove that form that you don't want.
Good. Awesome, Linda.
Good job.
And then, one last thing.
Hold your applause.
Yeah. So you can send these forms. You hit the send button to email it. select which forms you want to send over, and then hit next, put in your recipients, blah, 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 copy yourself so you know what went where.
Everybody see that little button, BombBomb? If you get in a BombBomb account, you can integrate it to BombBomb, do a video of your offer, do a presentation with your video, and send your offer over. And it's a lot more powerful than doing it through email. Just saying.
And I would say one caveat about Zipforms, it tends to go to the spam folder a lot. So if you send something to your client, make sure that they know to be on the lookout for it. SkySlope doesn't seem to have that problem.
Saying down on the bottom, that single PDF, make sure that's checked. Do not separate
Yes,
the PDFs.
thank you, David. Do not send 15 forms, separate forms. Make it one PDF file. It's a lot cleaner, especially when you're sending over your offer to. Don't send listing agent 20 different files.
Awesome.
Okay, any other questions?
And then,
Oh, and one other note, Zipforms is changing to the new Zip Plus.
We have a bunch of overlap on your
I
sheet.
know, I can't get that underscore, there we go. So this is what the new one is gonna look like. And they're actually gonna get rid of, you can toggle between them both right now. And it's pretty much the same concept, it's just a little different format. Some things that you have to kind of look for, like I was looking for collaborate and it's share now. So you can go back to Classic, but that's going to disappear soon, so everybody should just transfer over and start using the new Plus.
Is that really 30 days? They said last night on the webinar.
so I challenge everybody, make a residential purchase agreement template. A listing agreement template. Those two are just,
That's your bread and butter. You
That's
should
your
have
bread and
those at
butter.
least.
Yeah.
Could you make a copy of what of your residential listing template or your RPA rather, so that I'll know what to put in that standard?
nope, no. There is a forms advisory, and you can go through the forms
Do it
advisory.
yourself, Elizabeth.
No, because if you're going to learn,
Yeah.
you're going to learn by doing.
Yes.
I got a shortcut, you buy lunch.
Now, once you're done with forms advisory, if you want someone to review it, because ultimately that's how you learn quicker.
That is an excellent idea.
So do it, bring it to us, we'll review it, then we'll correct it as we go. But take the initiative to try to learn it.
Okay.
I
Awesome.
gave you guys one shortcut today, if anybody was listening, there's a.
Thank you,